everyone, and welcome to our second podcast of Key to an Athlete's Mind. My name is Ben, and we are joined here by an amazing and international Aussie cricketer, Steve O'Keefe. Stevie, welcome.
Well, former Australian, retired, actually more recently sacked international cricketer. So, but it's a pleasure to be here, Ben, and see you, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Just before we get started, I just want to say a few shout outs. So to our podcast sponsor, Healthston, for their support of me and the show. Thanks to you guys. So anyone that needs any remedial massage or physiotherapy, look up Healthston and go and check them out. And also to the Cameron brothers from Carnage House Productions. Massive shout out and thank you to you guys for the setup and the hiring of the equipment for this podcast to happen. So massive shout out and thanks to you guys. So Steve, or Sock, as I like to call you, Big Wet Sock.
That's right, yeah.
What's been happening?
Mate, it's been pretty quiet, hasn't it? COVID's been a little bit stressful. I think when I sort of lost my job, retired from first class cricket, I've had a lot more spare time on my hands. Still getting involved with the Manly Cricket Club, still playing with the Sixers this year. Doing a little bit of renovating around the house, actually, which I've worked out I'm a really poor handyman. I sort of will cut holes in walls, which will then need to be replaced by a builder, which will then create mess for the floors. So then I need someone to clean the carpets. So I'm quickly realising I'm pretty useless around the house, but it is keeping me busy.
Nice. Nice, sounds good. You should get some sim racing or something set up for yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm hitting the PlayStation pretty hard. I haven't had one for 10 years, and now I'm absolutely smashing it. So I'm finding games from 2014 that are amazing.
Nice.
The Last of Us I've enjoyed. I enjoy the storyline games, like have got a bit of a plot to it. Ghost of Tsushima came out, which I really loved, and I'm waiting for Valhalla Assassin's Creed to come out, which looks pretty good. So I've turned into a complete nerd again.
Nice.
Yeah, reignited the flame.
Nice. You should get into some sim racing.
Okay, all
Formula
right.
One.
I'll look at it. Yeah, Formula One. Yeah.
That's where it's at.
What about like the BBL games or something online? I could play myself and maybe actually contribute.
For once, you could. You could smash Glenn Maxwell.
Oh yeah, I could.
Yes.
I'd knock him over. I knocked him over twice, so I do that in real life. I don't need to do it on there.
Why not? So let's talk about like early years.
Sure.
So back to maybe when you were growing up, and tell us a bit about like where you went to school and like what your family life and that was for you growing up.
Sure, yeah. Well, I grew up I was actually born in Malaysia, believe it or not. Dad was in the RAF, so we got posted over there. Both my parents are Aussies. So I was born in Penang in 1984, spent 2 years over there. My first language was Tamil, actually. I started speaking Tamil because I had a Tamil Amar, Tamil-speaking Amar over there. Then moved to Melbourne, lived there until I was 8, and then moved to Richmond, which is in Sydney's west. And originally got into cricket because I didn't have, I just didn't have many mates. I'd moved and then I watched cricket on TV and saw this guy called Dean Jones who was hitting the ball, and I was like, wow, this looks like good sport. So Mum's like, right, you need friends because you don't have any. Cricket has 11 people in a team. We are putting you in a cricket team. Yeah. And from then on, I just grew a love for the game. I had amazing parents, mum and dad, still here, living out in Richmond in the house that basically I grew up in. Beautiful sister who's a school teacher, recently married. She's got a second child on the way. So I feel extremely fortunate that I've had a beautiful upbringing. Very fortunate. Dad was in the RAF for 40 odd years. Mum was a nurse, emergency nurse at a hospital. She worked, I think, as I get a bit older, I tend to forget how much work my parents put into just allowing me to play sport. Mum would work night shift from 10 at night till 7 in the morning, get me off to school, and then drive from Richmond to the city when I was 15, 16 to train in all these squads. So it must have been so taxing on her. But I was bloody, I've had a bloody good upbringing, good parents. Where did it all go wrong? That's the question, Ben.
We'll delve into that a bit later.
Sure.
But what was your first, I guess, memory of cricket, and who did you first, I guess, play for?
Yeah, so Mum put me into a team called the North Richmond Cricket Club. The first cricket team I went to, this was back when cricket was really popular. So what are we talking? 10. So we're talking 25 years ago. Wow, it sounds really weird saying it like that. But 25 years ago, and they said, well, we're too full. We can't have you. And we've got a team that won last year. We're not going to change it. This is an under-10s cricket team.
Yeah.
So we went up to North Richmond, and they had two teams, under-10As and under-10Bs. And they said, sure, we'd love to have your kid, your son come along and play for us. And it was the only junior comp that we won, but we won that year and we beat the team that was meant to be the all-star, rock star team that had all the guns and all that in it. And I made 20 in the final, which for me was just like unbelievable. And from then it just grew a passion. I was just like, I was like, I'd grab a ball, I'd go to the nets, I'd bowl on my own. This is the days before iPods, I'd kick a footy in the park, and then if I wasn't doing that, I'd go down and bowl in the nets. And I just had a love for the game, And I don't think even now, the purity of how much you just love the game as a kid, I don't love it as much now. In fact, I probably, despise some aspects of the game. But back then, I just had such a passion for it. I really did love it. So, and I've got my early coaches to thank for that.
And was it from that time you sort of really thought, like, let's make a real go of this? Like, when was it for you that it really, like, went from a bit of a hobby and a love, which still was throughout your career, but you sort of thought, let's make a life of this. Let's make this real.
A job. Well, the way it worked, I mean, I was going through, say, the under-17s for New South Wales, and then I was lucky enough to play for the Australian under-19 team. But you weren't getting paid. It wasn't like it is now, where you get rookie contracts or big bash contracts for young kids. So one thing it did do, though, is allowed me to play cricket, but also realise I need to study, because I'm like, cricket may not be a job. Cricket was just a hobby, and I was just okay at it. So I went to uni and I studied to a teaching degree. So I got a teaching degree. But in the second year of my teaching degree, when I was 21, I got offered my first contract with Cricket New South Wales as a rookie, which was $12,000, which barely covered the tolls from Richmond to get the training. And
What year was that?
That was so that's 16 years ago. My first year in the squad, so like 2003 or something.
Yep.
Yeah, around then, 2003, 2004. And then I made my debut for New South Wales in Shield cricket in 2005. And it was probably at that stage when I started going, well, hang on a minute, I can probably, this could be a job. So, I went from $12,000 rookie contract to $20,000 rookie contract to $20,000 rookie contract. So I had 3 rookie contracts in a row. And then you bump up onto a full contract, which was 40 grand. At that stage, I'd finished my uni degree, and I was like, well, 40 grand, that's enough to live out of home, go and pay $200 a week rent in Manly with 3 other friends. And I'm like, oh, I can actually do this full time. And I did do some teaching on the side. I'd finished my teaching, so I taught a little bit in some schools. I went overseas, taught a bit in Liverpool when I went over and played some cricket over there and taught. So, I think the whole time I looked at cricket and I was always like, as long as this can sort of just get me by, delay the inevitable of having a full-time job working in a school, this is great. One more year contract, great. Another year I don't have to work. Another year I don't have to work. And the setup in there now also promotes, if you're in the system, they partially pay for some of your study. So they want you to do something outside of sport. So, I was lucky half my uni degree got paid for through cricket, through grants, which, I'm forever in debt for that, really.
And I guess that's also really important, because especially in anyone's sporting career, one minute you can be there on top of the world, the next minute, injury,
gone.
It can be over.
Yeah, and that's important. But it's also nice just to have a bit of balance. It's also nice. I found that the longer I've been in the system now, I'm finding it harder now transitioning out of the game, because you become a product of, it manifests the beast in you that you're competing and training and playing all the time. And cricket you become so tunnel vision and narrow vision in playing the game that you tend to lose sight, or your identity gets so involved with just one thing, sport, that you just forget about a lot of other things. And it's about just winning and titles and performing and
Numbers.
Numbers. That's right. And that's not what life's about, is it? Life's about enjoying all these other aspects. You'd go away on tours and you'd have such the blinkers on that you really wouldn't look and enjoy what is around you, because you were I was so anxious about, or fearing of failure about performing, that probably missed out on enjoying some trips overseas, which I should have. I do remember calling you when I was in Sri Lanka in a tuk-tuk, which was stuck in traffic, and I thought, well, who am I going to ring here who I know will pick up, who will make this trip a little bit easier for me? And it was you.
Yes.
We had a good chat.
That was a great chat.
It cost me about $130,000 in international phone calls, but it was worth every cent.
Yep. Got me out of work for a while, so that was good.
Got you out of work for a while.
What do you think in terms of, I guess, the pressures and the, I guess, stigmas of society towards athletes? I mean, you touched on there, the pressures of the numbers, the winning, the not failing, the things like that. What does that do for one's mental health? And,
It's really good. I still grapple with the idea of how I think that potentially professional sport at its highest end is naturally unhealthy, in the fact that it's like it's like a zero-sum game. I win, you lose. And naturally, if you're just doing that the whole time against your teammates and against opposition, winning and losing and being judged on that, and you're bringing out this competitive nature in you the whole time, it does create a sense of, anxiety and fear of failure in your mental health. Like, you're worried and you're concerned about your performance, and am I going to get a contract next year, or how is the public going to perceive me? This is all part of, I guess, the game that you play. And along with that comes a lot of public scrutiny for the high-end guys. It didn't really happen for me early on. No one really knew me when you're playing for New South Wales. It's actually quite easy. You just play, and maybe the odd person might pick up a paper. But the guys that play at the top end, it's the nature of the beast is that, whatever you do, you're under scrutiny publicly, off the field, on the field. You become, that's just par for the course. That's what it is. And I think when you sign up to play sport in its purest form, when I was a kid, I just want to play the game. That's all I really want to do. There's a lot of expectations that come with being a professional sports person, which I completely understand. You've got to remember, a lot of these kids that are playing now, football, cricket, who step into the professional limelight, they are just kids. They're just normal people who are good at something. It's not mutually exclusive that they're going to be the best citizens in the country because they are professional sports people. They don't walk hand in hand. They're good at footy first. Some of them might actually be really altruistic and helpful and nice, but sometimes it doesn't match up and balance. So when you do see guys who do have mental health issues, I can completely relate, because I can understand how tough it must be to try and balance all those things.
Yeah. What do you think? How much do you think the media has to play with this? I saw, a few years ago now, I was watching, I think it was the footy show, and good old Phil Gus Gould was talking about how the media has a lot to play in terms of the NRL, how they put, especially the youngsters, as you were saying, they put them up on this pedestal as if they're almost godlike.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're just 17 and 18-year-old boys playing footy.
That's right. And
is that the same landscape in cricket too, or?
I think it is, yeah. I mean, in Australia, we tend to we've got this massive tall poppy syndrome. Guys do well. He shouldn't be over. He's on so much money. He's done like that. We love to cut him down. We love to. And then, what we also love? We love a good redemption story. We love to cut them down when they're on top.
A good comeback.
And then we love, geez, he's a reformed man, and geez, good on him. He's bounced back from a bit of hardship. It's almost like we get off on that, raising them up, cutting them down, and then watch the redemption. We love it. We love that end of a story. And as I was saying, at 18, you get these young kids who come out and they're really good. So to use football as an example, because cricket probably isn't the same way. You might be 18 and a superstar, right? And all you've known is football. A club picks you up for $600,000 as an 18 on a 4-year deal. So you're signing a $2.4 million contract. That's at $600,000 a year. That's 10 times what my dad would have earned working full time in the RAF. And we're expecting these kids who we give top money to, who have now got fame, to just actually to be actually a normal
adult.
It's adult, and it's like if you gave that sort of money to anyone else in public, you expect them just to walk around not with a little bit of ego, not maybe blow a bit of money here or be a little, it'd be quite bloody hard. See it in the US with Hollywood kid actors, don't you? How many times they become built up and then like they run off the rails or something happens. So it's a tough thing to manage, but there are really good systems in place where they look after kids. There's a lot of psychology. They give you opportunities to chat to psychologists, to work through things. There was a thing on Nathan Cleary in the paper only recently, which was a good column about how he sought out the Seattle's head coach. I forget his name, but he did a course with him, basically on managing other people's expectations of you and just narrowing your vision. Ben Ikin said it on the footy show the other night, which I think struck a chord with me. He called it being a benevolent sociopath, as in you can be really caring, but you really need to just look after yourself.
Yeah.
So you try and balance those two things will help you, I guess, maybe make the most of your sporting days.
Yeah, and I guess as well, it's all about that living in the now and not
that's right.
trying not to worry about
Yep.
the future or the past. What's happened in the past is done.
Correct.
It's gone.
Yep. You got to move on from it, and I think that the people that do that the best are the ones who will succeed, who are very resilient. Learn from your mistakes, but it's all. We talk about cricket. It's always about the next ball. Like you got to worry about what's coming down next. Well, not what's just happened. You've got to wipe it. Sure, bank it and know and learn from it, but it's all about what's coming up next.
Yeah.
But in that creates its own anxiety as well, because for me, whenever we won, it was a relief more than celebration. It was just like, we haven't lost, like relief. And when we lost, it was like no win ever felt as good as how bad a loss felt, if that made sense. So your highs of winning are good, but your lows of losing were far lower than your winnings. Win, relief, loss. Shit, I've got to really look after. We've got to turn this around. We've got people's jobs on the line. I've got my job on the line. So win was just sort of like expected. Loss, you've got this. You've got to change something. That was always my attitude, and I prided myself on being consistent. That if I had a bad game, I had to turn it around the next game. If I had 2 bad games, I didn't expect to get picked in the third. But I'd find if I went through my Shield career for New South Wales, very rarely would I have 2 bad games where I felt like I hadn't contributed to the team success or helped them try to win a game. So, yeah.
So if we move forward a little bit from New South Wales to your Test debut, some would say it came late. Some would say, why was he in the side? Screw them people.
Yeah, hang on. Where do you say that person that said there should be? Am I looking at both of you?
No.
No. It's not Andy over here who's looking at me. Yeah.
No. So who did you debut? Was it against?
I debuted in 2014 in Dubai against Pakistan.
Yep.
And it came off the back of a good Shield season. I took 40. I was the leading wicket taker in the Shield season, so I took 44 wickets, which is pretty good for a spinner in Australia. Nathan Lyon had cemented his spot. Well, not cemented, but it was the spinner, and I was the incumbent, so I'd work alongside him. And you're right, a lot of people, I think, had always questioned whether my best ball was good enough to get the best batters out in the world. That was always no one would ever say it to you, but that was just the vibe.
Question.
That this guy's, he doesn't spin the ball, he bowls really round arm, tight, could be a good one-day bowler, but is he going to challenge in 5-day test matches the best batters in the world? Is he going to challenge them? That was always the doubt. In my mind, I had the same doubts. I mean, everyone has the doubts and the fear and the nervous energy, but I always felt like whenever I got into a contest, it was me versus the next person. I always felt like I'll find a way to get that. I'll find a way to beat that person, whether it be mentally, skillfully, whatever. I'll just find a way to do it. We lost. I played one test and got dropped after it. We got absolutely hammered. In saying that, I took 4 wickets, which was the leading wicket taker in that game for Australia. I think it was like the match figures were 4 for 210, which is less than impressive considering the other spinners. The spinners on the opposition team just went through us. Yasir Shah and Zulfikar Babar was left arm finger spinner, did really well. So I got dropped for the second test, and then didn't get another opportunity for a couple of years, which is great because I was always like, I got a baggy green, that's bloody good. It's a prize memento. I've only worn it once, but if I put it in the dryer and hang it on the clothesline, look like I've played 100 tests, maybe cut it, make it look a bit like Steve, or I'll tell my grandkids I played 100 tests when I'm old and senile and got dementia.
How did that feel, getting...
Getting dementia, yeah.
How did that feel getting your first baggy green? Like when maybe talk us through a little bit, like when you found out you were making the test side.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that real feeling, like
it was more of a relief. You go in these training programs where you go into Dubai and you're away and you're training and you're preparing and you're playing and you're busting your backside off. Are you going to be picked? Are you not going to get picked? And then you finally get a tap from the selector saying, it's Rod Marsh at the time, he said you're gonna play. And again, it's not excitement. It's just a sense of relief. And then my mind just kicked into straight away of like, righto, now we have to win a game. So you kind of you don't really smell the roses. It was a beautiful cap presentation. Dean Jones was there at the time. And my very first cricket bat, my main idol when I was a kid, years ago, was Dean Jones. I got a Kookaburra Supreme cricket bat, had his name on it, and I got given it, and he became my idol. And he ended up being over there commentating, and he was the guy that presented the cap to me. Can't remember what he said. It was all lovely, but you kind of... It's like white noise. You kind of feel like it's not surreal. You're like, this is all like, what's going on?
Is this happening?
Is this happening? Like I'm there and everything, like you can't feel your fingers. You're sort of running up and like everything is just, I don't know, you're like Spider-Man. Your senses are heightened and it's really bizarre. And you're walking and everything seems a little bit uncoordinated and you're switched off. But then we lost the toss and field and we spent 100 overs in the field and you in 100 overs in that sticking hot heat, you find a way to bring yourself back to reality. It took 90 runs to get my first wicket, I think, and I remember in my head going, I just do not want to be the guy that has played a test and not taken a wicket. I would have just dreaded that. So again, relief when I got my first wicket, relief when I got my baggy green. It's only probably now when I'm sitting back years later and I'm like, I got to play for Australia and what a great experience, and my family got to share in that moment. It's only now that you probably go, that's, when you're digesting everything and decompressing from it all, that you enjoy it. But at the time, it was just anxiety relief consistently.
Yeah. What would you say if you had that moment over again? What would you say to a younger, slightly, probably more immature Steve O'Keefe?
Yeah, at that stage.
Yeah.
I think I put it. I question this. I question whether my mentality at the time of where I was almost OCD and overtrained helped me become. When I was very ruthless, very agitated. I could be really narrow vision and minded and thought process like. I argue whether that helped my cricket because I was so in the moment and overtrained and did everything. Whereas if I went back and told that Stephen just to relax and try and maybe enjoy it, would I have had the same success? I might have been maybe a little bit more mature, as you call it, or healthier naturally, more well-rounded. But like, would I have been a better cricketer? I mean, you're thrust into this environment where you've got to compete, you have to perform, you can't have one bad session. And I really admire the guys that can just put all that together and switch on at the right times and switch off. I'd probably just say, to that guy, that Steve back then, just when you're on, switch on and compete and do all that. And when you're off, try and switch off. I always felt like my mind was ticking over probably, all the time, consistently. Even when we're away, you're in the field, you're in a hotel room on your own. the team's behind, you got a lonely night's sleep, you're up the next day, balls in your hand, you're going again, and it's like, this is just, it's relentless, you know. So, I think the advice would be, you know, when you get the opportunity to switch off, really switch off. Just shut it down, watch a movie.
Yeah.
Get the Assassin's Creed out on the PlayStation, some Formula One.
Yeah.
Give Ben a call.
That's right.
In a tuk-tuk. Nah.
So, well, after, you know, you said you went for a few years without making another test appearance.
Yep.
Between that time, because I know, even looking back at my own pouch of football career, what it's like, making the Aussie side, then you get dropped, then you go a year, 2 years, 3 years, you sort of question, will I ever get back there? Am I good enough? Was I good enough? How was that for you?
Yeah, I think I mean, it'd be probably similar to what you went through, I guess, if when you're in and out of sides. I guess the thing was, I always felt like when I went back to state cricket, that to me there was a lot of satisfaction in playing state cricket. So I was comfortable there. I was doing well. I was performing, and I knew I could continue that. I doubted whether I was going to get another opportunity. I just didn't know whether if it was going to come. And I was sitting on that sort of one test, and I felt like, I definitely felt like after I'd played that I was an improved bowler over the next couple of years. So I went and worked really hard on becoming a better bowler. Didn't worry too much about getting too far ahead with the Australian team. I was worried about getting better. And if I got better, then an opportunity, will present itself. I just had to have that belief that it was going to present itself. And it did, I went from there, I played that first test, and then I got to play another 8. So I played 9 tests, which I think if I look back on now, like I consider that I'm happy and lucky to have played 9. That's probably the way that I look at it. Is I don't feel hard done by. I feel like I could have had a bit more luck and played more, for sure. I definitely could have behaved better. I behaved like a pork chop on a couple of occasions, which cost me. But overall, I feel extremely lucky, bloody lucky to have played 9 tests, to have travelled to different parts of the world, to played in India, the best team. That's sort of like the final frontier, to challenge them. If it was 19 tests, honestly, it's all superficial. As I said, I feel like I'm like what I got. I feel like I got the most out of my pretty ordinary ability.
And what was India like? So for us that have never been to India, but obviously it's the mecca of cricket. As you said, it's
crazy.
The end result where you want to get to.
Yeah.
All their fans absolutely worship their players.
Yeah.
Even their worst players.
Madness, yeah.
What's it like playing over there?
It's so crazy. It's like a different world. You go over, and as you said, they are just obsessed with cricket. Like, they just love the game. Everyone. You get on a bus, you look out your window, there are people lining up, who've been there probably for hours just to watch their favourite, not me, because I don't know who I am, but Steve Smith, Dave Warner, to get onto a bus. They'd be screaming and chanting their names, and then, heaven forbid, the Indian team comes out. It's Virat Kohli, it's KL Rahul. I don't know. It's Jasprit Bumrah. They're just going absolutely mental, and they are like gods. These guys have got millions of followers online. They are paid so much money in the IPL. They are proper. They're like Hollywood stars in India. In a country of over 1 billion people, there is a lot of pressure, and they have over there. You put the TV on when you'd finish a game and you just want to switch off. There'd be 10 cricket channels. One would be dedicated to Twitter, of the Twitter accounts, and then people's responses to people's Twitter accounts or Instagram accounts to that, or about the game. It's just a different world.
Never turns off.
Never. They just know. It's all they just. It is. It's. I mean, in regards to the world, it's what is it? The second most popular sport behind soccer, and it's all because of the subcontinent. India is 1 billion people, 1.3 billion, and the majority of them just love the game of cricket, and they're at the moment, probably the best in the world at it. Yeah.
What do you think it will take, and who do you think may have the ability to really challenge India long term?
Long term.
I mean, obviously, any country can beat anyone on the day,
Yeah.
but I mean, to really...
To beat them in their home. Well, I think you need two good spinners. We've got one in Nathan Lyon. The question mark's on the second spinner. So you need two good spinners, like world-class spinners to beat them. One to apply pressure and one to be able to attack and take wickets. And, have we got that person there? Who knows? Like, you could throw a few names out there of young kids who are coming through. I think we've got talent, but it takes more than talent to go over there and have success. I think our batting is really improved. Like, you've got to look at Marnus Labuschagne. He's a great player of spin. So I think we're actually, really moving forward in that department.
He's come from nowhere.
Yeah, and he's getting better, So you've got him, Steve Smith, Dave Warner's improving in the subcontinent. We probably just need one more really skillful batter on slow wickets conditions that can sweep well, take spinners on, because to be honest, they're the guys that really do the bulk of the bowling and the damage. So we're going to have batters who know how to play that well. It really is the final frontier, is beating India in India. If you can do that, win a series against them, that I think that will be something to be cherished, because traditionally Australia has played pretty poor in the subcontinent, whether it be Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, doesn't matter where it is. As soon as we start getting slow, we're useless, to use a lesser word.
Who would you say, looking back over your time, who is a player that you've played with that you thought, that you sort of looked up to?
I think an idol that I played with was Simon Kadich when I first started playing. He was definitely a guy who just was the most well-rounded guy, a lovely guy off the field, a great captain and leader, unbelievable batter, and had time for you. You didn't ever feel like the presence, like he felt like he was bigger or better than you. And if it wasn't for his captaining and tutelage when I first came into the team, I don't think I would have been anywhere. It was between Shield games for me. I made my debut in 2005. Didn't get my second Shield game, which is the 4-day cricket game, until 2010. So it took 5 years in between that and getting your second game, which is it's a long time. It was under Simon Kadich, and he really looked after me, nurtured me with Matthew Mott. So I always I hold him up as the pinnacle or the poster boy of the way an Australian cricketer should be. Simon Kadich is the number one for sure.
Who do you think is the most talented player that you've played with or against?
With or against talent. I mean, Steve Smith, by far and away, is his knowledge of the game. So being able to read a game and be a couple of steps ahead just seems almost freakish-like. And his ability to adapt to all kinds of conditions around the world is freakish-like as well. He's in cricket sense, I consider him to be a genius. He just, if he's got his mindset to something, I just don't see sometimes how batters, bowlers will ever get him out. If he's worked out the conditions in his own head and he's in the right mental space, he's almost impossible to get out. And there was a time when he played in that Ashes series where I just felt like this is what it must have been like when Don Bradman walked out to bat, because you just expected him to make runs every time. He gets hit with Jofra Archer and misses a test and comes back, and you're like, the whole contest I thought was just about how, is Steve Smith going to get us 100 again in this series, you know? And then Marnus came in and made his stamp on it, which was great to watch. And so, without a doubt, Steve Smith is the most talented cricketer I've ever played with.
And do you think it's about, one thing I think, watching Smithy play, and one thing you mentioned earlier is that ability to turn off.
Yep.
And that ability to, all right, I've swung at the ball, I've missed it, move on.
Put it behind you, yeah.
Do you think that's one thing that really separates people like Steve Smith and the Virat Kohlis and, to the batters under that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know whether it's an interesting one, right? Because that would work for me. I needed to switch off because I had doubt in my mind. I was always balancing doubt. Whereas Steve would say that he wouldn't sleep a night before a test or only get a couple of hours sleep because he wouldn't be thinking about failure. He'd just be thinking about how he would get runs.
Success.
Like, I'm bowling Stuart Broad. All right, he's going to bowl here. I know he's going to bowl a foot wide of off. I'm going to set my game up to play against that, and then Jofra I'm going to play like that, and the spinner I'm just going to. So he was nervous, but it was nervous for like
complete different reason.
I'm going to make 180. I'm making a double. I can't see. He would say in games of Shield cricket, they're not getting me out today. Go out and make 100. And
so he would verbally actually say that.
He would verbalise, they're just not getting me out today. And he'd get, start of the day, he goes, I'd see you at lunch. And then at lunch, he goes, see you at tea. Tea would come in, I'd see you at stumps.
Wow.
And he'd just do it. And it was like, and he just would.
And was that seen, some people could see that as cockiness. I see that as positivism.
Absolutely.
But what was that scene like within the dressing room?
Personally, I just grew off it. I'm like, this guy's sticking the chest out, and if he believes in me, and he's the best batter in the world, like I grow, like you feel like you grow around him. And if you're batting with him, and he's so committed to the cause for New South Wales, and he's an Australian cricketer, and he's that committed to come back to us and win us games, you just become bigger, And then mentally, I'm more relaxed because I know I've got Steve there who backs my belief, who backs me as a player, and So I never look at it as cockiness. I loved it. I love that. If a guy's like, "Give me the ball, I know how to knock this guy over." We're competing. We're not. I don't want someone going, "Oh, I'm going to try my best and see what happens." Save that for your head and your thoughts before the game. But when you walk across that white line, it's like, for me, it's just like I would pick fights with guys. I would get into big confrontations because I was just like, it's me or you. That's it. We're not walking off here together, shaking hands, and just going to have a nice day. And at points that sometimes I'd go probably too far of really just nailing into a guy, trying to get into his head with it. But it's just because I honestly just felt like
winning.
It was just competing. It was just like, this is what we're out here to do. I have to beat you. I have to be better than you. And I couldn't just sort of just be like, hey mate, good luck today. Oh, well done. That's great. I had to, just destroy you, and that was the way that I felt. Even if I felt like you were the nicest bloke off the field, which was really nice. And I think at the end sometimes that black and whiteness probably didn't help me towards the back of my career because I got even more stubborn and forthright in the way that I thought about the game. That I probably need to bring it back a touch and, like I said, switch off at times, switch on when you need to, maybe use it in different ways.
Do you think, last question about Steve Smith, will he ever captain Australia again?
I hope so. I don't know. I think Tim Payne's doing an incredibly good job. I love the Tim Payne story. I really do enjoy it. It's like this guy who was
like
the same age as me. He was out of the system, down and out. He's come back. He's an older guy. He knows his craft. He's coming. He's captained the team in a hard time. Done a bloody good job, and he's still there. He's fit. Wants it.
They're succeeding.
He's a champion. He's a champion. And what a great story. And I'd love Steve Smith to take the reins because I think there's no better cricket brain in that team. Whether they choose that or whether he wants that or whatever, but I would love to see him do it because he's just so far ahead of the game. It's not funny.
Yeah.
He's got more theories than Pythagoras when it comes to cricket. Like, he's got ideas coming out of his ears, left, right and centre, but he's just so good at it. Maybe if you had him in some sort of leadership role around, if he wasn't captain but assisted, because you need his input. He sees it before it happens. These catches that he takes one-handed, he just knows it's coming, When he plays the shots, he knows where the ball is going to be, and he sets himself up to hit to a certain area because he knows that's where it is. It's like he's that far ahead. He's almost seen it already in his own head, visualised it. That it's for him when it's actually happening. It's already happened, and he just needs to execute. Yeah. And as I said, it's freakish.
Yeah. Hopefully, Tim Payne will get to end his captaincy when he wants to.
That's great. That's the fairy tale. I think he deserves that. But the game is not about fairy tales. Very rarely does anyone ever get them. Only the greats and when you say the greats, you know, that Ashes series where Langer, Hayden, McGrath, Warner went, they deserve, you know, those greats of the game, they deserve that to go on their terms. It's tough, you know. The game is very unforgiving, and that's you know, it's not, oh, when would you like to go? Well, okay, we'll give you that extra game. Well, it's just not the way it works.
No.
But you know, I hope Tim does it on his own terms. That'd be great.
Why spin bowling? Why?
Yeah.
Why? You're probably dreading this if this question was going to come up.
Sounds like me chatting to my psychologist. Why are you doing that? Why did you do that to
How
yourself?
does this make you feel? No, but just when you're a young kid, I mean, I don't know, but like, you probably imagine that either everyone wants to be the opener batter,
Yeah.
or the Brett Lee 150, 160k bowl it at someone's head, sort of thing.
Yep.
Not Steve O'Keefe.
No, that's right. There is
slow,
it
90
was-
kilometre bloody
right.
off spin.
No, you wouldn't even call that. Just go slow left arm.
Underarm, almost underarm. Almost Chapelia.
It's close to. It's close to. No, I think I started out as a batter, and then I bowled left arm. I opened the bowling and under 12s left arm quicks.
Oh.
But the problem was when under 12s I was $1.70 and now I'm 36 and I'm $1.70. So I stopped growing. So
You didn't bowl any faster.
the only option you have at that age is to change, you know, bowl spin, try and be. And I was batting. I made all the rep teams as a kid generally as a batter who bowled a few overs. That was generally my progression. But then I got to a stage where I realised my batting wasn't going to be good enough, or I told myself that, which is probably a mistake. But I had an opportunity in there to bowl spin. I'm like, there's a window here. New South Wales cricket at the time had a lot of spinners. Jason Crozier, Nathan Horrocks, Stuart McGill, Aaron O'Brien, Bo Casson. I had 6 guys ahead of me. I made my debut, but then there were 5 spinners ahead of me from all different states bowling. And I just worked tirelessly. I had 5 years. I'm like, right, I feel like I can crack in here. These guys aren't nailing their spots. Although, they were, you know, Nathan Horrocks was playing for Australia and Bo Casson got his opportunity. But I'm like, I'm going to get an opportunity here. So I went back to grade cricket, second 11 cricket, and really worked on my bowling, my batting, and then it just sort of came all together. In one of my early games back, Josh Hazlewood broke down. I got to open the bowling in a Shield game as a spinner, bowled 25 overs, went none for 80, thought that was the end of my career. Matthew Mott, at the coach at the time, patted me on the back. Simon Kadich patted me and said, mate, when we come out tomorrow, you're going to start up again. And you're going to win us the game. And well, I ended up with 7 wickets for the game and we won, and it just spawned on from there. I sort of put the batting aside and just went, right, I can be a bowler. I can own a bowler. I can own the spin bowling position in this team now, and I'm not going to let anyone get near it. And, you know, that's basically what it did. I had that hunger and fight for that spot.
Well, you did only have Horrocks to compete against. I mean,
not
much.
And Horrocks, well, he played 20 tests for Australia. Bo Casson, who was playing Test cricket at the time. Aaron O'Brien, who was a far better batter and was bowling spin at the time. Jason Crozier, who played Test cricket. Like, there was a long list of spinners, and that's not to mention the other spinners that were going around grade cricket at the time. Liam Zammit, when I first came into the squad, there was like 10, and there's 10 of you who were better bowlers than me who are fighting for one spot. So I knew if I got a window, I had to make it stick because there's so many other guys around you that I could turn to.
Yeah.
So again, I feel bloody lucky. I got that job and I got to play 70 odd games for New South Wales. 90 first class games. I'm so happy with that result.
Yeah. Where do you rank Nathan Lyon in terms of an off spinner? Do you think he'll go down as one of Australia's greats?
He has to, doesn't he? I mean, I think he's gotten to 400 wickets. I think he'll probably get to 600, 700. I don't know who the next spinner is. You've got Agar and you've got Agar and you've got Swepson. I mean, we would love to see a leggy play, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And I think Swepson's getting better and better. So I think he's probably the next in line. But then you've got Zampa, who performs on Australian level in one-day cricket, which can't be underestimated. But I think there's Nathan Lyon, who at the moment is only getting better. And I'd say, even personally, from my point of view, I feel like at the moment, the older you get, the better you are bowling. You need to be managed differently because you're a bit older. But the older you get, the more experience you get. If his body holds up, there's no reason he can't play for another 5 years.
Oh, yep.
I'd love to see him take on Shane Warne's 700 wickets. I'd love to see that. And I don't see why he can't.
Do you think if he got there, would he be held in the same regard as Warney?
No chance. Because we're finger spinners, it's not the same. And Warren was just magic, wasn't he? Like, he'd bowl that leg spin and the way he'd set batters up with his flipper and his wrong'un, and it's just, you just can't compare. Gaz is beautiful to watch. He gets that extra bounce and spin, and he's so much work on the ball, and I love the way he appeals, and the style of cricketer he is. But no one will ever compete with the king in that regard. Even if they do go past him, you'll say Nathan Lyon has got the most wickets, but it's like, if you had to pick a person that you wanted to watch bowl on their best day, it's Shane Warne. It's just so good. There's nothing better than a day where Shane Warne just spun a team out. It was awesome to watch.
What about that young kid, the ranger from Lloyd Pope? Popey.
Plays with the Sixers. He's great.
What do you think's his chances like?
He's got brilliant wrong'un. He's got a great leg spinner. The tough thing is for young leggies is just getting the opportunity to keep bowling and being consistent, because you just get tapped up in Shield cricket as a leggy. They just go after you. It's hard. Lloyd's got a first class 5 or 6, 7 for I think he got against Queensland. It's there. The potential's there. The potential's there with Swepson. They need to be managed well at state level. They need to be given more opportunities to win games for their teams at state level. They need to sort wickets out so spin bowlers bowl more overs, so they've got opportunities to win games. It's as simple as that. And at the moment they don't. They encourage green wickets, Duke's ball, swinging it, and it's not going to help spinners. So I think we've got the ability to just need to be looked after a bit better.
Across state level in Australia, do you think we are at a level high enough to continually compete at the top of world cricket?
I'd say in the subcontinent, no, flat out no, because we don't produce wickets that are like wickets that we're going to play over there. So how do we expect to get better? And every time we seem to go over to the subcontinent, we just cherry pick, we just guess with players. We don't build them up or give them 3-4 series in a row to get better. We just drop them, and it's unfortunate, because the next spinner now that goes over with Nathan to beat India in a couple of years' time will be untested. It's probably Ashton Agar, who's actually had a bit of experience and done really well, who I rate really, really highly as a left-arm finger spinner and a great all-round package. But they've missed a trick, so they're going to have to play a leggy. But traditionally, leggies don't have a lot of success over there, and you need 2 good spinners. You can't just rely on Nathan. We've got the airspeed and the quicks, and we've got the batting. I think Steve Smith and, as I said, we've got 3 batters, probably missing one more real good batter. But are we going to get better? No, because we don't produce the conditions at home to replicate. Over in India, the spinners over in the subcontinent, the spinners come on in the first 10 overs of a game.
Never happens here.
Never happens here. You get the ball in the 60th over. Just get us through to the new ball. And in India, over there, you've got to be facing it from ball 1. New ball, and it's racks differently. And as a spinner, you've got to be able to have the responsibility to go, I'm going to bowl 50 overs today and win us this game. Yeah, but we very rarely in this country, except for maybe in Sydney where the wickets are a fraction slower, do spinners get that opportunity.
Do you think Cricket Australia and even individual players should look at something like, obviously in our off-season, our players go to England and play county cricket. Why don't we go to India and play club cricket in India?
Yeah, I think they do take teams over, junior teams over, to go and learn their craft and play.
But I mean,
you can't,
the players that we want to play against the next India.
I think their summer is our summer, isn't it? I think that's the problem. Is in you can't take them out of the Shield cricket to go over and play in the Indian domestic summer, because say if you took our best batters over and you got them to play Ranji Cup over in India, which is equivalent to Shield, you'd be taking them away. What I would suggest is that you play 5 home games for your state. I'd say have 3 at your home, or 3 or 4 at your home ground, but you have 1 game that you play in a regional area. You scarify the wicket, which means you rough them up a little bit, and you make it a deliberate game that is spin bowler friendly, in which you can pick 2 spinners from your state, your 2 best, and give them an opportunity to win a game, and also give batters an opportunity to do well against spin. Now, they bring in the Dukes ball. They did that for 4 years because they wanted us to be better in England in facing the Dukes ball. And to be fair, we've had success. We retained the Ashes. You know, the Dukes ball wasn't such a shock. But now it's like, well, if you're going to do it with the Dukes ball, do it with a
pitch.
Do it with the pitch. That's right. Yeah, focus on that if you want us to get better. It's pretty straightforward. Like, you get better at what you play on, you know. Make it a competition. Turn Sydney into the absolute dust bowl it needs to be. So it's just dominated by spin bowling. Every time a team where spinners take, you know, too many wickets, the wicket was ordinary. It was a shit wicket. You know, because it was just slow and spun and did nothing. I'm like, yeah, well, when you go overseas and play internationally, Pakistan, West Indies, maybe not the West Indies so much, they use the Dukes ball now, but Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh,
that's all there is.
All going to play in slow conditions. Half the 10 test nations are going to play on spin dust bowls. So why don't we at least produce one here in Australia? Anyway, that's my 2 thoughts. 2 cents, whatever.
So where to from here for you? What?
Well, I'm pretty hungry at the moment because this is what is it? 12 o'clock now. I haven't had. It's 1 o'clock. It's 1:30. I haven't had lunch. So training the Savo. So where to from here? Probably Macca's.
Yeah.
Drive through.
But you got Sixers coming up still. You still
Sixers coming up. Playing for the Sixers. Yeah, we had a good win last year. I love that. Geez, that was good fun. We got to play with Steve Smith, Josh Hazelwood. You get to play in front of crowds. Domestic cricket, you get to play in front of crowds. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's so much fun. Fans are amazing. You know, we have 50% women, 50% guys, and most of them are young. And you know, to be honest, some of the kids just turn up, they wave a flag, they don't even know what colour it is. They just see someone gets hit for 6, flag up, flames, show at half time. It's just entertainment, and it's great because that's what we want to encourage, people coming to the game, enjoying the game. Try and encourage the best players to come over from overseas. So I'll play that for as long as my body can last. So I've got another year to run on with the Sixers, and I'll play grade cricket for Manly, help out there with a bit of coaching and playing first grade because I still feel as fit and as strong as ever. You know, I'm bowling, and I feel like I'm bowling better than ever. So I've got a lot to keep giving back to the game. So I'm going to keep playing. That's the plan. And I need something to do, you know, because otherwise playing PlayStation, you can't get a career out of it unless you're really good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm renovating the house as well, creating more mess than it's good for me. Patch a hole, then you need to clean the carpet. And then that's just not effective, is it? If you're just creating one mess after one mess after one mess.
No,
but
it's not.
Keeps me busy though.
It does.
Yeah.
Last question.
Go on, last question.
What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want the Steve O'Keefe legacy to be?
Steve O'Keefe legacy. Oh, that's a tough one. You know, we used to get asked this question by, you know, those people that come in, you know, the team building guys that would come in for an hour and try and create team culture in an hour. Like, you know, they come in and they've got the palm card and they're like, right, I'm going to make, you know, we're going to have these values and beliefs, and, you know, they're in there for 45 minutes and then you don't see them all season and then you see them for another 45 minutes. But one of the things they asked is like, what would you want to be put on your headstone? Is in like, write your own headstone. Is in the question that you're asking now, and I remember I've sat down a couple of times and tried to write it, and I'm just not sure. I guess I think at the end of the day you want to be remembered as a guy who was a good cricketer, which I've done, but gave back to the game more than what he took out of it. And I think just in a simple sense with cricket, I think I'd like to be remembered as a guy, you know, who got the most out of his ability and did well, but then also gave back to whether it be fans, players, coaching development. And that's part of my legacy now that I'm continuing on at the end, is that just go, you know what, he played his cricket hard and fair. Sure, he stuffed up a bit along the way, he learnt. But, you know, he had time to go back and help youngsters play. He enjoyed and had a passion for the game and enjoyed other people around him doing well. I guess that would be... It'd be nice if I was remembered that way. That's how I'll think of myself, and that's all that matters.
It does.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you are the only one that matters.
The only one that matters. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's the sociopathic side of me coming out. Yeah. Yes. I am the only one that matters here. So, yeah, good question. It's a work in progress. I'll let you know maybe at the end of my career what I'll be remembered.
Maybe we'll have you back on the show.
Love to.
Once we've reached Joe Rogan status.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've
Have you
got
back on
some
after-
big names. I won't let the viewers in on too much, but you got some big names coming in.
Yes.
As soon as you work out how to learn that mute button on that recorder there and get through your technical issues, you're onto the
Big names.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank
and
you.
I do like the key to an athlete's
Mind.
and the play on words with the last
Surname. Yeah.
is it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
No worries. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Mate,
It's
thank
been awesome
you. Yeah.
talking to you.
So it's been great. Let's
yes.
maintain this friendship, and maybe again when the cricket season rolls around, if maybe we can do some little cricket recaps or thoughts, or maybe we spin it around
Yes.
the room and maybe do a little just cricket thoughts on what's playing on the
That'd be
lowdown, and
That'd be good.
yeah, I'll let you know how my handyman building's going, and
We could maybe come to some Sixers training,
that'd be good.
get some behind the scene training
Yeah,
session.
we'll just
Video?
put the pads on you, put a helmet on you, and I get the bowl at you.
Mate,
I'd probably still.
I'll hit you for 6. Remember when you hit me in the head that day?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And at least Perry bowled me up, but I was
that's-
distracted.
Fair enough.
But thank you so much for coming on to Your Key to an Athlete's Mind. And it's been a pleasure having you.
I've loved it. Thank you.
No. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us in this episode. Once again, just shout out to our sponsors, Healthston. Thank you for supporting. And to the Cameron brothers from Kind of Just Productions. Massive thanks for all the equipment and setting up. And please check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Cam Podcast. That's KAAM Podcast. And send us a like if you like us. And don't send us a thumbs up thumbs down if you don't like us. But yeah, keep supporting and see you guys for episode 3 a little later. Thank you.